Do you remember how the film Kingdom of Heaven ended? With the words, "Even today, there is no peace in the Holy Land." Those words still echo across time, heavy with truth. At the center of this unresolved struggle lies Syria, a land sacred to multiple civilizations and religions, yet repeatedly shattered by conquest, division, and war. For thousands of years, Syria has stood at the crossroads of empires, beliefs, and trade routes, making it both blessed and cursed by its geography. In recent years, Syria once again returned to global headlines with the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime, bringing an end to a dynastic rule that began with his father, Hafez al-Assad. Pasha ruled Syria from the year 2000 as president and de facto dictator under the ideology of Baathism, a form of Arab nationalism that promised unity, secularism, and social justice, yet in practice relied heavily on the army, intelligence services, and carefully managed minority alliances. Despite strict police control and repression, the regime remained inherently unstable. Syria's forced withdrawal from Lebanon in 2005, the continued Israeli occupation of the Golan Heights, and growing economic hardship and political dissatisfaction steadily exposed the fragility beneath the surface of authoritarian order. The Arab Spring of 2011 marked the decisive breaking point. What began as peaceful protests, demanding reform and dignity rapidly escalated into a brutal civil war. The regime responded with overwhelming force, including mass arrests, indiscriminate bombardments, and the repeated use of chemical weapons against civilian populations. Bashar al-Assad's political survival depended heavily on direct military and financial intervention by Russia and Iran, transforming Syria into a battlefield of global rivalries. Between 2014 and 2019, the extremist group known as the Islamic State, or ISIS, carved out a violent proto-state across large parts of Syria and Iraq, imposing terror and destruction before being defeated by rival coalitions. The war left more than 500,000 people dead, displaced millions from their homes, and reduced ancient cities such as Aleppo, Homs, and Raqqa to shattered ruins. Syria became one of the most complex and tragic geopolitical battlegrounds of the modern world. To understand this immense suffering, one must look far deeper into Syria's past. Syria is one of the cradles of human civilization. In Arabic, it is known as Asham, the land of the rising sun. To the Romans, it formed the heart of the Levant. Damascus, its capital, is among the oldest continuously inhabited cities on earth. Geographically, Syria connects Anatolia to the north, Mesopotamia to the east, Arabia to the south, and the Mediterranean Sea to the west, making it both a bridge between worlds and a perpetual battlefield. The Euphrates River flows through its northeastern regions, tying Syria directly to ancient Mesopotamia. According to biblical tradition, the rivers Tigris and Euphrates flowed from the Garden of Eden itself, placing this land at the symbolic beginning of human history. Human presence in Syria stretches back hundreds of thousands of years. Neanderthals lived here during the Paleolithic era, and by around 10,000 BC, Neolithic farming communities had formed as part of the Fertile Crescent. These early societies built permanent villages, cultivated crops, domesticated animals, and traded with distant regions, laying the foundations of urban life. Around 3000 BC, the city-state of Ebla emerged in northern Syria, becoming one of the earliest known Semitic kingdoms with a sophisticated administration and written language. Over the following centuries, Syria fell under the influence of Akkadian, Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian empires. The Assyrians, among the most powerful and feared rulers of the ancient world, left a lasting legacy so strong that their name eventually became associated with Syria itself. By the late Bronze Age, Syria became a contested zone between Egypt, the Hittite Empire, and Mesopotamian powers, all seeking control over its vital trade routes. After the collapse of the Bronze Age around 1200 BC, the Neo-Assyrian Empire rose to dominate the region for centuries. In the 6th century BC, Babylonian forces conquered Syria and destroyed the first temple in Jerusalem, forcibly deporting part of the Jewish population. Soon after, in 539 BC, Cyrus the Great incorporated Syria into the Persian Empire. Persian rule was comparatively tolerant, allowing displaced Jewish communities to return and rebuild their sacred temple, earning Cyrus the reputation of a divinely chosen ruler in Jewish tradition. In 333 BC, Alexander the Great defeated the Persian army at the Battle of Issus, bringing Syria under Hellenistic rule. Greek culture flourished, and cities such as Antioch became major centers of learning, philosophy, trade, and administration. After Alexander's death, Syria became the heartland of the Seleucid Empire until internal conflicts weakened it. In 64 BC, Roman general Pompey annexed Syria, turning it into a Roman province. For over 7 centuries, Syria remained under Roman and later Byzantine rule. Greek and Aramaic were widely spoken, and the region became one of the earliest and most important centers of Christianity. Antioch emerged as one of the great cities of the Christian world, while Damascus and Aleppo grew into major urban and commercial hubs. During the 3rd century AD, Syria briefly stood at the center of imperial ambition when the desert city of Palmyra, ruled by Queen Zenobia, challenged Roman authority. Although her rebellion ultimately failed, her legacy endured as a symbol of Syrian independence and resilience. Christianity continued to spread rapidly, gradually replacing older pagan religions. By the 4th century, Syria was firmly integrated into the Christian Byzantine Empire, though deep theological disputes divided its population into rival sects whose tensions would echo for centuries. In the 7th century, the long and exhausting wars between Byzantium and Persia left both empires weakened. In 636, Muslim Arab armies defeated the Byzantines at the Battle of Yarmouk, bringing Syria under Islamic rule. The Umayyad Caliphate made Damascus its capital, governing an empire that stretched from Spain to Central Asia. Islam spread gradually, rather than by force, and Christian and Jewish communities continued to exist as protected minorities. In 750, the Abbasid revolution shifted the capital of the Islamic world to Baghdad, reducing Syria's political importance, but not its cultural and religious significance. Over the following centuries, Syria passed through the hands of numerous powers, including Crusader states, Ayyubid rulers under Saladin, Mongol invaders, and Mamluk sultans. In 1516, the Ottoman Empire conquered Syria, ruling it for 4 centuries. Ottoman control brought relative stability but limited political autonomy. After World War I, the empire collapsed and Syria fell under French mandate. Independence finally came in 1946, yet political instability soon followed. A series of coups culminated in the rise of Hafez al-Assad in 1970, who established a centralized authoritarian state. His son Bashar inherited this system, but the accumulated pressures of history, geography, and division proved overwhelming. The Syrian civil war shattered the modern state, yet Syria itself remains far more than a war zone. It is a living archive of human civilization, sacred to billions, shaped by thousands of years of triumph and tragedy. The story of Syria is not over. It is a story of endurance, loss, and the unbroken weight of the past.